So the Carolina Hurricanes and the Nashville Predators.
Now, Nashville beat them the last 2 times, but it didn't mean anything. It was a meaningless game, as they say. I'm picking Carolina on that one, Tim, but you got to...
Well, I just think the Preds won the last 2 games. I think
Didn't mean anything.
But I think they've underachieved. And if I'm looking to pick an upset, I think this might be one of them. You never know. One of their goalie might win a playoff series, but...
Rene, whatever you pronounce his name, it might be.
How many more shots do you have?
Yeah.
But the Hurricanes look awful. I think to me, they're the one team that flew under the radar this year.
Yeah.
Brindamore had them going, and Reimer played.
Bunch of jerks.
Yeah, a bunch of jerks. They played well.
Are they still playing that card? Are they still promoting?
No, they do at home. They don't do it in the playoffs. So I don't think they do they?
Well, they don't do that thing because there's no fans.
Oh, there's no fans. Yeah, that's
well,
right.
even when there was fans, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I'm picking Carolina in that series, and it should be a good series.
Okay, Dad, here's 2 teams, Las Vegas and Minnesota. Boy, now, if I remember, that would be a fun.
Minnesota has a record of 5 wins, 1 loss, and 2 ties. Now, Krill, how do you say Kaprizov? Is that how you pronounce his name?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
He got 27 goals, but I like Marc-Andre Fleury. Hey, you remember the time the agent, what was the agent's name? I forget his name. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, better not mention his name. Remember he put the picture of when Marc-Andre Fleury got benched for the other guy, and he had the cartoon or the picture of
the agent put a big sword through Fleury's
right through him too.
Through Fleury's back, and so this is what Peter DeBoer is doing to Fleury. It's just so
wow.
Yeah,
imagine the guy doing that.
Do you remember when you used to not be able to pronounce those names and it again flew under the radar when you called them cut a finger off and carve a leg off? And then people never caught on a lot of it. We used to say that.
Yeah, they used to think it was that.
That was their real name, carve a leg off.
Yeah, I should. And the other things they used to say. Anyhow, I'm picking Vegas on that one. And
but again, though, Dad, it's like.
And many won
5. They were 5-1-1 against them.
I'm still thinking of Vegas on that.
Is there teams that just have a knack of beating teams?
Yeah, and we had an awful time against Minnesota.
I was going to say there was always a problem.
Always a dogfight. I don't know why it was Minnesota. Maybe it's that stupid commercial we made. We must talk about that sometime. Anyhow,
so that'll be interesting because Vegas right now is Colorado's favored to win. Vegas is second. Leafs are third.
Well, whatever. I like Vegas, and
but if I was going to pick an upset, you get big money. On Minnesota.
That could be if you're going to pick an upset. That would be my because the record is 5-1 and
5-1-1.
Yeah, and we'll have to see. Could be a lot. This is a good playoffs, boy. There's a lot of good playoffs. Okay. Now we have 2 Florida teams. Go ahead, Tim.
Well, we got Tampa Bay and Florida, and they played towards the end of the regular season. And I don't think Hockey Night in Canada would have liked it because of the violence. The violence in the one game. Guys were...
What was the last game?
Holy, one guy grabbed Owen Tippett and bulldogged him down into the ice, and Maroon grabbed the guy going to the penalty.
Sucker punched him?
Sucker punched him, got a game suspension. And the funny thing is, have you heard about it? Did you see any highlights? You didn't see anything.
Violence.
And the whole thing with Tom Wilson, like I said, was when that thing in New York, because it was in New York, and you had the whiny New York play-by-play and color guys saying stuff. And the Tampa guys and the Florida guys, they were embracing the violence. So we say, they can't wait for this. They're setting the tone. We just can't wait for the playoffs. So you think, and Tampa guys are saying, if you think we're going to get pushed around, you got another thing coming. And the Florida guys were saying, yeah, you Tampa, you think you're big bullies. Wait till you get a hold of us. So, boy, that's going to be a dogfight.
Next. Anyhow, Florida has Tampa number. They're 5-2-1, but I'm still picking Tampa on that one. Khrushchev, you know what? I'm still picking Tampa, but they have a lot of nagging injuries. The guy's coming back. Khrushchev, he'll be back. Their leading scorer.
Yeah, Stamkos is supposed to be back.
Yeah, and I like that Braden Point boy in the playoffs. He always comes through in the playoffs.
Again, like if you're getting into betting, Tampa is favored. and you get a pretty good odds in Florida.
Yeah,
and to me, that's a pick 'em like that.
5-2-1. Florida and Joel Quenneville's got them going. Sam Bennett, since the trade from Calgary, I think he got.
Well, it's
6
just
goals.
they're a rough team now. Like they're both those teams are like that. Maroon was kind of running around, and they were giving it right back to him.
Bobrovsky finally playing like he thought he'd be playing, so I'm still picking Tampa on
Be
that
interesting to have a stat to see how many players played for you that went on to coach, like Joel Quenneville.
There's a lot of them.
A lot of them.
Anyhow, it should be a good series. There's so many good series out there, and I think this is one of this will be a dogfight right to the end because Florida and everything. And it's too bad. Can you imagine the crowd there they have right
Well,
now?
they're saying they're opening up. Like I was reading somewhere that they said that the Bruins might have a full rink by Game 5. It wouldn't be Game 5 because they're playing at home, but by Game 6 maybe. And I bet you in Florida they'll start opening up this thing. But I got to say that the one thing we were talking about that, and we'll get into it more, was when Florida went to the finals. A long time ago against Colorado, and remember the people used to throw the rats on the ice.
Oh yeah, Scott Mellenby was the guy that was the player. Took one and no, it was a real rat.
It was a real rat running around,
and he killed it with a stick, and so the story got out, and boy, they were throwing what was it? Did they give a rat away or something?
Well, yeah, so people started bringing it made the news. So somebody brought a rubber rat and threw it on the ice. Well, the next game. There was about 10, and then about 5 games later, when they would score, there would be every time they scored.
Patrick Waugh, he get in the he was in the net.
It was something to see. People should Google that to see. You wouldn't believe how many rats.
Because they were playing Colorado. Patrick Waugh was in Colorado at the time, and when they scored on him, they started throwing the rats on the ice. And remember, there was no screen back then, so they could. And he wouldn't leave the net.
No, he was back in the net.
He just stood there, and they were bouncing off his head, and finally he had to go underneath the net. And then the NHL.
Well, they started that. Well, remember with the squid or the octopus? Remember they did that too. They threw them on the ice.
No, that was in Detroit.
Yeah, but I mean, throwing things on the ice.
I ever tell you the story about the girl singing there? What was her name? I forget her. We'll have to tell that story.
Yeah, I have to look up what her name. But you were down with Florida, and I remember you said you were driving that. It was like park here, $5 and 5 free rats. So people were selling the rats going in.
Yeah. Well, Pittsburgh and Islanders, boy, I'll tell you, Barry Trotz doesn't get his teams don't give up many goals, and they think they're going to run away with them. That there's another good series there. Crosby, they have to get Crosby at check.
Well, the one guy that you and I talked about, Dad, that we thought was a really good pickup for them was Carter from.
Boy, Jeff Carter, he got there, and there's a guy I always liked that Carter, and man, he's still playing. How old is he now? He's got to be in his 40s. He got to be close
late
to
30s
40.
anyway.
Yeah, and they have Nathan Barzal. Now they say that. Islanders aren't a colorful club. They're a big, tough club. They don't give up many goals. So we'll see how Crosby does against them.
So, Dad, the last one is Colorado and St. Louis Blues.
Now, a lot of people think this is a gimme because St. Louis has not been as good this year, and they have Ratnan. I think between the two of them, they scored 129 points. Gruber, I'm picking as the goaltender of the year, and but that Bington, like I told the story when he was in Boston, he lost the night before and he just played terrible, and I saw him in the elevator. He said, "Oh, we'll win." I know, yeah, sure, kid, you'll win. And boy, he played terrific. Remember that one? And they won the Stanley Cup. And his last 21 games, he straightened things out. I think his average was 9.21 or something like that. And they have Ryan O'Reilly. I think Ryan O'Reilly's McKinnon's going to see a lot of him, and so this should be. I think this is this is going to go to the 7th game. This is going to be a tough one, but I'm still picking Colorado. I hate to do it against St. Louis because I really like St. Louis. They've never been the same though since they lost Peter Angelo, and So I'm picking Colorado on that one.
Well,
And-
Colorado's favored to win the
Yeah,
Stanley
well-
Cup as
Now
as
these
a-
are that should win, like
Yeah.
the ones I meant that should win, and
Well, for me, I would, you pick the favorites, but if I'm going to pick an upset, if you're betting Minnesota, because they have a good record against Vegas, and they're a
you
big,
don't hear
they're-
much about them.
and they're big odds. They got big odds because Vegas is first or second, depending on what you look on, to win the cup. So, Dad, we wanted to say again that we got a contest coming up with spreads.ca. So you go on and you go on.
This is free.
This is for free. Spreads.ca/grapes. And you can win up to $5,000. And again, it's register free. You don't have to put any money in. And it's not easy, Dad. So what you have to do is you got to pick who's in the finals,
Oh boy.
who's going to win, and how many games, and who's the MVP. So
Oh boy.
do you want me to go first with my pick, or you go?
Yeah,
first?
you go first.
I'm going to pick Las Vegas, and I'm going to pick the Leafs, and I'm going to say Vegas in 5, and I'm going to go off the board, say Mark Stone with the MVP.
Well, I'll give mine, but anybody can. This is a tough one. I'll pick T.O. as usual. I've always been a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. I have, as you know, got a license on my truck has a Maple Leaf on it, and I'll pick Colorado. I say it'll go 7 games.
And who's winning?
Well, Colorado's going to win.
Yep.
This is tough for me to do against Boston, I'll tell you that. And McKinnon's going to be the MVP. That's my pick, and it'll be tough to pick that, and that's why it's $5,000, and that's why it's free. But I'd like to get into that. T.O. and Colorado,
Yep.
and 7 games, and McKinnon be the MVP.
Sounds good.